He arrived with a suitcase full of judgments. Every narrow street felt like a barricade to him, every smile a challenge to his carefully constructed sense of superiority. Julian, a software entrepreneur from New York, believed efficiency and money defined value. The Philippines, with its colorful jeepneys, slow-moving crowds, and relentless heat, was chaos to him. Yet, somewhere beneath his irritation, a quiet curiosity lingered, a suspicion that maybe, just maybe, there was something here that he couldn't calculate. The first morning, he felt it most sharply. The scent of sizzling fish in the early market, the sticky humidity clinging to his designer shirt, and the ceaseless honking of tricycles weaving through Manila traffic. He tried to keep his composure, but each day felt like a test of patience. And yet, amid the noise and disorder, he noticed something unusual. A neighbor helping a stranger carry groceries, a child insisting he take the shade of a coconut tree, a vendor sharing a free piece of banana bread with no reason at all. Julian would learn soon enough that these moments were not anomalies. They were the lifeblood of a culture that measured wealth not in dollars, but in the currency of Malasakit and Bayanihan. If you believe that kindness is the only true language, follow this story and let your heart witness the transformation. Julian stepped off the plane with a confidence that was meant to intimidate, but in Manila's heat, it quickly wilted. The airport smelled of diesel, fried food, and sweat, a mix so foreign to his sanitized New York world that it made him flinch. Outside, the sun bore down on crumbling sidewalks, and jeepneys rattled past with passengers balanced in precarious harmony. He frowned. Where was the order? The efficiency? The quiet streets he had imagined in glossy travel magazines? His driver, a wiry man with a ready smile, tried to engage him in small talk, but Julian barely nodded, eyes scanning for imperfections, imagining the mistakes in the city as if they were his personal affront. At his hotel, he unpacked meticulously, placing his suit jackets with precision and checking that every hotel brochure was aligned perfectly. Yet no matter how he arranged his surroundings, a restless tension clung to him, as though the city itself refused to respect his rules. That evening, he wandered into the street markets, determined to assert some control. The aroma of adobo simmering in large pans teased his senses, but he recoiled at the noise, the bargaining, the unsolicited laughter from street vendors. A small boy, no older than 8, darted past him carrying a tray of mangoes and almost collided with Julian's expensive shoes. The child apologized with a shy smile, and Julian's irritation flared. "How can they be so careless?" he muttered, unaware that this city had a rhythm that didn't bend to his impatience. By the third day, Julian's pride had grown heavy, pressing down on him like the oppressive tropical air. He tried the famous beaches of Palawan, thinking that sand and water would cleanse his irritation. Instead, he found himself frustrated that the locals swam leisurely, chatted openly, and offered him refreshment without formalities. He had come expecting speed, precision, and structure, and instead, he found laughter, chaos, and a rhythm he couldn't control. One afternoon, stuck in a traffic jam on EDSA, Julian's phone rang nonstop, each vibration a reminder that the world outside expected him to perform. Sweat traced lines down his temples, and the scent of exhaust mixed with a faint, sweet tang of halo from a nearby stall. He wanted to yell at the driver, to demand speed, to assert authority. But something stopped him. Across the crowded jeepney, he caught a glance of a grandmother sharing a small packet of rice with a street dog. A child offered a hand to an elderly neighbor struggling with a sack of vegetables. These simple, effortless acts were foreign to Julian's mind. They were not transactions, not gestures expecting reward. They were just life. Frustration peaked that evening when he returned to his hotel, feeling small and alien. For the first time, he questioned whether his achievements and wealth meant anything at all. The city he thought he could conquer seemed to conquer him instead. Julian lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, realizing that his journey might not be about sightseeing, it might be about understanding. The rain began softly that morning, tapping against the tin roofs and filling the streets with a gentle rhythm. Julian had ventured into a small provincial town, seeking respite from Manila's relentless pace. He carried an umbrella but, true to form, tried to maintain control, complaining inwardly about the puddles, the muddy paths, and the smell of wet earth. Each step felt like a test of patience, and he bristled at the casual greetings of passers-by. It was then he saw her, an elderly woman balancing a basket of bananas on her head, struggling to cross the street as a tricycle swerved dangerously close. Instinctively, Julian stepped forward, intending to scoff at the chaos, but she didn't collapse. Instead, she laughed, a clear, warm sound that seemed to stop the rain in its tracks. Before he could turn away, a young boy ran up, offering her a hand without hesitation. The woman nodded gratefully, smiled at both children, and then, inexplicably, turned to Julian and said, Teo rin po sa maliit na calzada, inviting him to share a shelter under a nearby roof. Julian froze. No one had ever extended such kindness to him without expectation, without calculation. He found himself ducking under the tin roof, rain soaking the edges of his expensive jacket. She handed him a small cup of chocolate, hot chocolate made with care, not convenience. The aroma was rich, warm, and grounding. Julian took a sip, and something inside him stirred. For the first time, he felt neither superior nor entitled. He felt welcome. Over the next days, Julian watched this quiet village, its people moving in harmony with one another's needs. Children carried bundles of firewood for elders, neighbors shared what little they had without hesitation, and strangers smiled as if they had known him forever. At first, he resisted, comparing everything to New York, to metrics and efficiency, to results. But the slower pace, the laughter amidst toil, began to chip away at his armor. One afternoon, he followed the sound of singing and found a small group gathered to repair a broken community center. Hands were dirty, clothes ragged, but their faces glowed with purpose. Without thinking, Julian offered to help. The villagers hesitated at first, an outsider, unskilled, awkward, but slowly they let him join. A young girl handed him a hammer, correcting his grip with a gentle, firm guidance. Hindi po ganyang, ganito, she said. Julian laughed at himself, clumsy, humbled, and for the first time he felt connected. Later, as he sat on a wooden bench, dripping and tired, the grandmother from before joined him, handing him a small plate of rice cakes. You've helped, and now you understand, she said simply. Julian realized that wealth, efficiency, and status had never brought him this warmth, this sense of belonging. The walls he had built around himself, pride, arrogance, impatience, were falling, replaced by something far richer, the unspoken but deeply felt bonds of Bayanihan and Malasakit. He looked at the village, the rain, the laughter, and felt his world shift. He had come to observe. He would leave having learned. Julian woke to the scent of grilled fish and sweet bananas, the morning sun painting gold across the wet streets. For the first time in years, he felt no urgency, no need to control, no desire to judge. The village was alive in a way that his skyscraper apartment in New York never was. Children ran past him laughing, elders exchanged greetings with warmth, and even the stray dogs seemed part of an unspoken rhythm. He realized that these people, living with so little by his standards, were immensely wealthy in ways he had never understood. He walked to the small market, observing neighbors helping each other carry goods, exchanging jokes, sharing food. The lessons were subtle. The dignity in hard work, the beauty of giving without expectation, the quiet pride in being part of a community. Julian's old definitions, success, wealth, importance, felt hollow. He understood now that life's richness was measured not in dollars or accolades, but in the depth of human connection, the joy of being seen and accepted, the power of Malasakit. That evening, Julian joined the villagers in preparing a communal dinner. He chopped vegetables awkwardly, spilled sauces, and laughed at himself when a chicken leg fell to the floor. Yet no one criticized. Instead, they encouraged him, teasing gently, welcoming him as one of their own. He tasted the adobo they cooked together, seasoned with care and shared with laughter, and felt a warmth unlike anything money could buy. As he sat under the coconut trees, watching the sunset over the rice fields, Julian realized that the Philippines had become more than a destination. It had become a mirror reflecting who he could be: humble, grateful, connected. The lessons of Utang and Lube, Pakikisama, and Bayanihan were no longer abstract concepts. They were lived truths, etched into his heart. He smiled at the village, at the grandmother, at the children, and knew he would carry this with him forever. He had arrived as a stranger, burdened with pride, and would leave as someone who understood the true wealth of life. Julian rose, took a deep breath, and whispered to himself, This is home. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery oranges and gentle purples, and Julian stood quietly, feeling the rhythm of the village pulse through him. He had traveled thousands of miles expecting sights, but he found something far more enduring: the warmth of strangers who treated him like family, the simple joy of giving without expecting, and the quiet power of a community bound by care. If we measure life only in possessions or status, we risk missing what truly matters. The Philippines had reminded him, and now reminds us all, that kindness, connection, and shared humanity our wealth no bank can quantify. Have you ever experienced a moment of unexpected generosity that changed your heart? Share it below. And remember, sometimes the richest journeys are not measured in miles, but in the people who open their hands and their hearts to you.